I don't know what exactly compelled me to do this, but recently I decided I wanted to create a list of every single way that I use my iPad, and today I am here to share it all. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, I am here to share a bunch of ways that I use my iPad. So this video would probably be well over 30 minutes if I shared all of them. So I'm just gonna share half of them. But this is gonna be part one of me sharing a total of 35 ways that I use my iPad. Actually, I may add to the list before I film the next video, who knows, but for now, I'm gonna share about half of the 35. I have a few caveats, a few disclaimers. One is that I actually have two iPads. I have an iPad Pro 11-inch and I have an iPad mini. Another disclaimer is that I do not have a laptop. I haven't had one for years, but I have that, and I have an iPad that I use as a laptop, which of course would be the larger of the two. Again, I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I was just thinking, like, if someone were to walk up to me and ask me what I'm doing on my iPad, or if they were to walk up on me and notice me on my iPad, what might I be doing? So I wrote down literally every single way that I can think of that I use my iPad. First up, we have e-reading. I am a book girly and I do have physical books. You can probably see some behind me. I have some on either bookshelf, but I don't really enjoy having books. In fact, after I read them, I try to regift them or put them in D-stash if I go to a book event or something of the sort. I don't really like having a bunch of stuff just in general. I am a partial minimalist, so I'm not really a person who enjoys physical books. I do like having physical books, I just do not like harboring them. So therefore, I typically try to get rid of them. Of course, another way to avoid having a bunch of physical books is to read ebooks. Primarily, I use my iPad mini as an e-reader. I have the Kindle app on my phone and I am able to read books using the Kindle app. I also have the Libby app and some other bookish types of apps on my iPad mini specifically, but I'm pretty much always going to Kindle to read any book, no matter where I get it from. Next up, we have digital planning. As we all know, I create and design my own digital planners year after year, and for which case I like to import my digital planners, which are PDFs, into my preferred PDF annotation app, which is GoodNotes 6, and I like to write in my digital planner that way. So whereas the average person who is not into digital planning but into planning might go into a Target or a Staples or Office Depot to purchase a physical planner, I actually don't do that. I create digital planners, and so I'm able to replicate that traditional paper and pen type of planning by using my Apple Pencil to write on my iPad and in my digital planner. Next up, we have notebooking. Same thing. You might purchase a notebook from Five Below, Target, Walmart, or whatever. I do not actually carry a notebook with me. I have notebook paper that I have designed in the app that I use to design my digital planner, and I have imported that paper into GoodNotes, or GoodNotes does come with some line paper and dot grid paper and such that you can access right in the app. But at any rate, instead of carrying around a notebook, I actually just carry around my iPad and I write in it. I am pretty organized with my notebooks, my digital notebooks. I have a work notebook. I think I have a business notebook. If I have specific projects, I have notebooks for those. And so I have a lot of little notebooks that are inside of my GoodNotes app that I write in to keep myself organized. But I also sometimes just take notes right in the Notes app on the iPhone. Next up, we have responding to emails. I feel like this one is pretty self-explanatory, but as I mentioned, I use my iPad Pro as a laptop replacement. So when I put my Magic Keyboard on my iPad or vice versa, you will find me emailing away. I do not love responding to emails. So in reality, if you were to come upon me using my iPad, I'm probably not responding to emails, but I will say I normally do not respond to emails here. I either respond on my phone or, of course, on my iPad. Next up, we have PDF annotating. I talked on that or spoke about that a little bit when I talked about GoodNotes and digital planning and all of the things. But a lot of times if I get a contract from a brand or something like that and it's a PDF, I will open the PDF right on my iPad and I can actually annotate right then and there. I can sign the contract and then immediately send it back. The difference between doing that and using GoodNotes is that GoodNotes allows for better organization. They have all kind of fun, funky features that come with GoodNotes, and so that's what a PDF app is for. If you have an iPad, you don't need a PDF app like GoodNotes. You can annotate right there on your iPad, but a lot of people like me will import that PDF into GoodNotes and edit it that way, but you don't need to do that. So a lot of times I will just edit, a lot of times I will just edit a PDF right there once I pull it up. Next up, we have music playing. Some of these are a little simple, I guess you might say, kind of obvious, but again, I just wanted to create a list of every way that I use my iPad. So if I'm going out of town, I likely won't bring a speaker. I will just play music off of my iPad. If I'm planning on my iPad and I want some background music, I will play music straight from my iPad. I recently discovered this vinyl app where it kind of replicates the vinyl experience. I do not have a record player or vinyls, but I'm able to kind of replicate the experience using the app. So that's been a new favorite of mine when it comes to playing music. But all in all, I use my iPad to listen to music. If I haven't mentioned it already, my iPad is life. So that's probably obvious by now. Next up, we have scrapbooking or journaling. Now, I do have my first ever scrapbook. I have some of my first ever journals still with me. I had them when I was a child, and so I just like to keep them as memorabilia. But now, instead of using an actual scrapbook or an actual journal, I just use my iPad. I create journal entries or do some form of journaling in my iPad, and I feel like it's better safely kept that way as well, because you can lock apps now, and again, with GoodNotes as an example, you can organize your documents. So I really feel like it's a better use of a journal or a scrapbook. But similarly with scrapbooking, I kind of do the same thing, whereas back in the day I might keep a movie ticket and tape it or glue it into my scrapbook. Now I'll just download the digital version of the movie ticket or the confirmation email, or I'll take a picture of it and then import that into whatever app I'm using to do my scrapbooking. Likely is GoodNotes, but it could be the Notes app or even Freeform or some of those other apps out there. Next up, we have coloring/drawing. Now I will say, mainly coloring and drawing takes place by way of my students at work. I have a few who really love coloring and drawing, and so oftentimes I'll bring up a blank piece of paper or I'll download a coloring sheet and I'll let them actually use my iPad and pencil to color or draw while we're in session. Similarly, I do the same thing. I may doodle or I may color. I am not doing it all the time, but that is what I do on my iPad for fun sometimes. Next up, we have browsing the web, which is obvious. So sometimes I am just casually browsing the internet. I may not be going to purchase anything. I may not be doing any intensive research. I may just be trying to find a recipe or just something like that. So I use my iPad for that as well. Calendar referencing. I am a Google Calendar girl through and through. I mainly enter events and tasks into Google Calendar on my phone because it's just in my hand more often and more accessible. However, the Google Calendar on my little iPhone is very small, very squished together, not as beautiful and as large and as detailed as it is on a bigger screen. And so since I'm not at this computer a whole ton and I'm normally on my iPad, I will bring up the Google Calendar app on my iPad so I can get a clear bird's eye view of what all I have going on for the day, for the week, for the month. And like I said, it's a better experience because it's a bigger screen. I use my iPad for timekeeping. For a lot of the times when I'm talking about this is, let's say I am cooking, I will take my iPad into the kitchen. First of all, I may have the recipe pulled up, but otherwise I will pull up the clock app and I will set a timer for however long that I need to set the timer for. And I like that because it is a visual representation. I can tell Alexa or SIRI to set a timer, but I don't have that visual. And when it's Alexa, I have to keep asking her over and over how much time is left. But if I have my iPad propped up, I can always see the time that is left. Similarly, when I'm hosting, having a party, we're playing games, and there's a time limit, I will prop it up for all to see, and I will set a timer on my iPad that way. So that's what I mean by timekeeping. Next up, we have calculating. Now this is a big one, though very minor. Apple iPad has been around for a very long time. In fact, I had the first ever iPad. But it wasn't until 2024, just a few months ago, when the iPad got an official calendar app. While the iPhone had one and the desktop and the laptops and all the other Apple products had a calculator app and the iPad did not, I honestly will never know, but now I use it all the time. It's literally a big, humongous calculator. So if I'm on the computer, I will pull up my calculator on my iPad and use it. If I'm, let's say, inputting expenses or tracking things or just keeping it with our budget on my phone, then I can use my iPad as a secondary device as a calculator. I use my iPad for taking photos and videos, not a lot, but a good bit. And honestly, I normally do this for content creation purposes. I know that my iPhone's camera is way better, and this camera is way better than the quality of my iPad, but sometimes I will use my iPad for capturing some kind of photo or video. I use my iPad for video conferencing. I am almost always in a video conference, whether it's on Zoom or GoToWebinar or Google Meet or what have you. I have a video conference later today, actually. Always in a video conference, somehow, some way. Don't know how I got here, but I am here. And since I am rarely here, I will use my iPad, especially because my iPad is the only device that has that cool feature where I can sit my iPad down, and if I move my face or move around, the camera actually follows me. So that's why I like doing video conferencing on my iPad. I'll just prop up my iPad and I might be walking around, I might be just moving around, but I'm always going to be in frame because of that cool feature. Next up, we have video calling / FaceTiming. Also, another obvious way that I'm using my iPad, especially because of that feature that I just mentioned, but also because I just feel like FaceTiming on my iPhone just drains my battery. It's not my vibe. And so having an iPad so I can use it whenever I don't want FaceTime to be draining my battery is top tier. Another way that I use my iPad is for working. That seems pretty obvious, and I am obviously sharing some different ways that I do work. So, if I take a Teams call on my iPad, that's obviously me working. Or if I'm annotating in the app, that could be me working, because I don't have any paper at work. I don't use paper at work. I literally use all digital documents, and I use them on my iPad. If I need a parent to sign something, I will oftentimes have them do it on my iPad. Whenever it's time to maybe take notes or do my documentation at work or for work, if I don't have my work laptop, then sometimes I'll just bust out my iPad and I'll do my work there. So I could potentially be working if you found me randomly on my iPad. And if I'm doing some kind of student observation or something like that, and I'm taking notes, I'm not gonna have my laptop. I'm 100% going to have my iPad, and I'm going to be writing on the student observation form in my PDF app of choice, which is GoodNotes 6. And then I will download the document, export it from GoodNotes, download it to my iPad, and then I'll upload it to our electronic system that we use for record keeping. So I don't really have anything to do with paper at work. And then finally, we have graphic designing. Now, I am no graphic design expert, but your girl can be found in Keynote creating some templates for digital planning. That's what I do there. And you might find me in Canva, because I create all of my PowerPoints in Canva. I create all of my thumbnails in Canva. Canva is that girl. I have been using Canva for years, and we're super locked in. So I use Canva a whole lot. So if you found me, I probably would be on Canva, because I create everything in Canva. I don't use Microsoft PowerPoint, Word, any of that. I use Canva. This video is 20 minutes, and we're only halfway through the ways that I use my iPad, which I think I warned y'all of the fact that this video would be very long if I shared all of them in the same video. So as to not make this video 45 minutes long, I am going to stop the video here, and you will have to come back in a few days for part 2 of all of the ways that I use my iPad. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video thus far. Again, we have a part 2 coming up. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you're liking what you're seeing, and I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video. Bye guys.